So we're with Julie Edge, and the education hat is what is the one that's important today. This is a story about what happened at QE2 and caused massive headlines in its time. I really thought, though, it might be best if you can outline for many people, including myself, who have read so many different versions of what was going on. But if you want to give your version, and then we'll come to the remedy next. Is that all right? So
yeah,
tell us about what went on down there that day. When was it even? How long ago now?
February 23.
Goodness.
February
Right.
23. Obviously, I became aware that there was complaints raised with the department around the delivery of an RSE lesson, and obviously at that point I discussed it with my officers in the department, and the best decision that we could reach at that time was to pause all RSE delivery. And I think it's really important, Paul, to explain that RSE is a part of the PHSE curriculum. So RSE.
What was it?
So it's public health and social education, and obviously PHSE curriculum has always been on our timetables, and RSE is a part of that gets taught. So we continued with PHSE, but we paused anything within our schools on the RSE. And obviously once I seen some of the complaints, it was quite obvious, and there was concern from the public. It was the right thing to do to go for an independent investigation into what had happened in the school at that time.
So what did happen?
So obviously from the first part of the investigation, we went out and we got independent investigators, because at the end of the day, people were saying, oh, it's delayed, and if the department would have done it itself or got their own specialists in from our schools to look at this, it would have been then seen as, you've done it yourself. So going independent was completely the right way to look at it. And I know there's been criticism from some MHKs that the investigators, perhaps are not the best qualified. This was purely an investigation to look at what had happened on the day and what had changed. So phase one was completed, and we said we would move into phase two, which was the gathering of all of the information. And clearly there was some confusion with drop-down days and lesson delivery in February. So the phase two has focused on the delivery of the lessons in February. And the investigators have spoken to parents, they've spoken to our teaching staff, and obviously to officers to establish the facts, and that's been done completely independent, so it's not anybody that's been involved in an RSE lesson or anything, so they've been able to gather that. They gather the facts with that, completely look at it, and not have any preconceived ideas of what was getting delivered or should. So it's been done on that investigative way, and obviously we've had the outcome, and we've always said the outcome would come out at the end of the school term.
Wasn't the main thing about someone being in drag? Wasn't that the big thing about, was there someone there or wasn't there someone there?
That was pre the February lesson that was delivered, and that was clarified and cleared up in phase one. There wasn't anybody in drag in this period.
Trans person, no drag kings or anything, nothing at all, nothing that should have happened.
There was obviously delivery of a drop-down day, and certainly there was nobody dressed in drag in our schools.
Right. So how did this story get legs? Was that what you must have found out your conclusions?
Well, clearly, obviously, it did get legs, and we decided that it needed to be paused at that point, because, I don't know what's happening in our schools and being delivered every single day. So we did have to make that decision quite quickly. And clearly it did gain traction. And it's concerning how something can gain traction so quick.
Well, we said at the time you could have shut that down. You could have easily just ask a teacher, was someone there or not? But he didn't. It sort of gathered momentum as the story was not clarified one way or the other. Maybe lessons are learnt on that way.
Well, certainly, and throughout this whole process, you know, certainly I'm not going to sit here and say things haven't gone wrong in some areas. You know, clearly we need to make sure that we move forward in the right direction and make sure the right curriculum's delivered for our students on the island.
So on that day, were the parents aware of what was happening? Was there an opt-in or an opt-out sort of situation involved in that day?
Certainly school policy, it's quite clear that RSE gets delivered, and you know, that curriculum is available on school websites, and there is an opt-in, opt-out, as there is with other areas, you know, and religious education as well. The report that's come out now, phase 2, it's quite clear that communication needs to be a lot clearer with parents, and I think that's where we really need to focus. And the other big area for this is training, and making sure that we've got specialists delivering on this topic in our schools.
So was that an opt-out occasion that time, and are you going to change it to an opt-in, or is this what
it's opt-out? The same on this as it is for religious education, so parents can opt out. However, that's okay to do if you know what's being delivered, and that's key in
I'm
this
trying to get the point of
that's
things change a lot. I mean, in the old days we couldn't film anybody, you had to opt in, you know, now it's been changed to an opt-out sort of thing, so, you know, assumed okay unless we hear otherwise, is that?
Well, you know, talking about filming and that's still a situation that parents have to give permission for photographs and that. So with regards to this, the lessons and the curriculums are planned and delivered, and it should be that they can opt out. And I think the key thing with what I've seen from the report is that communication, and when things are getting delivered, it needs to be, it's really important piece that parents are aware what's due to be delivered, and they have that option then to opt out.
So the messaging seems to be it's all going to start again from September, but in fact it won't start until next year. Can you clarify what these two dates are about?
Yeah, that's total confusion. That PHSE has continued and will be continuing in September. RSE, as I say, is paused. So we're only talking about RSE here, not the whole of the PHSE curriculum. So there's different things delivered under PHSE. You know, they do have drop-down days. They'll have the police in. They'll have social workers in. You know, about drugs and driving and things like that. That's part of PHSE curriculum. RSE is a part of that, and that's the religious sex education element of that. Since we've received the report, we need to take that time. We need to work with our professionals in this field and our leaders in our schools, and make sure that the curriculum that comes forward when we reintroduce it is the right curriculum for the Isle of Man. So
are you assuming, accepting that there was a mistake with the curriculum as it was?
No, because the curriculum, obviously it's been, the curriculum that was an advisory curriculum, so obviously paperwork and lessons, ideas and that comes out of an advisory curriculum, and that's been very well researched and is in place in Scotland. It was seen as appropriate for education, but my key point here from the Isle of Man is that we need to make sure that the Isle of Man and our teachers are delivering the right curriculum, age appropriate in our schools, and that might be that not all of that curriculum would ever be delivered, which wasn't the intention with it anyway, but it's to make sure it's clear and it's well managed with people that are trained well to deliver the right curriculum at the right time. You have been following the UK basically up to now, and now you think it's got to be Manxified basically? No, certainly we haven't followed the UK. This curriculum that we're talking about was introduced in 2020. It's not new. It wasn't last year. Hadn't just come in. And no problems at all? No, we've had no problems till last year. So that's a bit of a key piece really. It's been delivered in our other schools. However, I think, and it's quite clear from the outcome of the report, that the training and how it's then delivered on site in our classrooms is really important, and we need to make sure across the island that it's delivered in the same way with a group of professionals that are comfortable delivering it and also delivering the same message. Some may say if you had no problem for 2 years and just one blip here, it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's causing this for you, is it? Well, Certainly it did gain traction very, very quickly. It's not knee-jerk. I think it's always healthy to review things if there's a problem, and clearly I wasn't aware until we got the complaints coming in. My view is, let's have a look at this, because clearly there's concern, and if there's concerns, it's the right thing to do as an education department to look at it, and we've looked at it thoroughly, and we will come forward with the right curriculum with well-qualified teachers to deliver it.
But it sounds like you are retreating slightly, so it's going to be you're going to be on very safe ground, are you, in future? You won't have anyone, there may be a transsexual or a drag artist or anything like that, you'll steer clear of that, or is it you're still working it? I mean, clearly there's going to be changes, so that would be the bit you're going to change, right?
It'll be delivered by our professionals, so obviously, you see, again, that's a bit of conflating PHSE with the delivery of RSE. So this has been about the delivery of RSE, which we will make sure that the teachers have had the appropriate training, they're comfortable delivering these lessons, and they know what is to be delivered at certain age ranges.
Just finish with it, just to be double checking here. In future, will it be very clear that the parents have to consent for their child to have this taking place? Up to now, it seems like it was just part of the curriculum. They went in there, that was it, right? There's going to be more safeguards or double checking to make sure everyone's comfortable?
No, it's certainly all of our curriculum has those safeguards, built into it. Teachers, it's their profession. They know what should be taught and what's appropriate for different ages. But with regards to this and moving forward, communication has been one of the areas highlighted. We need to make sure it's well communicated and that parents have that option to allow their children to carry on. But of course, if they're not comfortable, they have that opt-out option. And I've had as many people contact me saying, please bring this back in. We want our children to be informed so they can make the right choices.
That leads me to the world we're living in, isn't it? It ends up on GB News, and it's something like this. You must be going, what on earth has gone on? Made from presumably one issue, has made it the Isle of Man on the front pages, or not front pages, but certainly made international news.
It did, and certainly, one of the MPs in the UK said the Isle of Man's done the right thing. They've paused it, and they're going to establish the facts behind that. And it's still obviously carrying on in the UK, and we won't reintroduce anything until we're really comfortable it's the right curriculum to introduce. So
finally, are you happy with the outcome, or is this a bit of a mishmash, basically?
No, I think the report's been very good. It's been very valuable to have it done. It needed to be independent, and the investigation has come out with that training for our teachers is key when they're delivering any changes. And obviously, having worked in a school, teachers, PHSE and RSE are topics that the topic won't be delivered every week. So, we are looking at it saying we probably do need people that are well trained in this to go around our schools delivering it, and that it's the same is delivered throughout the island, that it shouldn't be any different. It's delivered in all of our secondary schools, and the problem in the West, it's one problem in the West, but we don't want to have that again, and we want to make sure that we're moving forward in the right direction and delivering the right curriculum.
And just one thing just come to mind. Has anyone been reprimanded? Was there anybody that has been told off? I'm thinking about teachers or something like that. Has there been anybody having to be taking the rap for this?
Certainly we've only not long had the report. We're still redacting it, and we will publish the report once the redactions are done, because there's an awful lot of personal detail.
I know how much you like open government, that's all.
Yes, and certainly if there was to be anything, that's certainly the way the department's operating now, and if there was anything that, certainly my senior officers and chief executive would address that in accordance with government policy, and that's the right way. However, the key thing is that we move forward with the right curriculum, and that we get this back on the agenda, because as I said, I've had as many people wanting it back on the agenda as I have people that were concerned about it, and the report will be published once those redactions are made in full. Obviously, there's a lot of personal data in there, so we've got to be really careful how we do that, and it will be published.